Welcome everyone. I am Shivakumar Ramakrishnan, working as an assistant professor at Sri Ramakrishna Engineering College. I welcome you all to the course Art of Making Paper Airplane. So, everyone as a child, we might have flown few paper airplanes. Unknowingly, we were gaining knowledge on the basic aeronautics. So, throughout this course, we are going to discuss the basic knowledge that you require to make a fine or a perfect airplane with few models. So, before moving into that, paper planes are not just toys, these are tiny airplanes. So, why I quote this is the physics behind the paper airplane is same as a life size airplane. So, if you understand how this works, you can make a perfect paper planes through which you will be learning the basic science behind the aircraft flight. So, let me make a small model and explain to you how it works. So, I think most of you can recognize this because this will be the first plane that you would have made in your school days. So, the major component of an airplane is its wings, through which it gains a force called lift and it flies higher. Okay. So, this is the main body which connects all the components. For now, you just need to know these two things. Okay. So, the main thing is the wing and the second thing is the body. The function of the wing is to create a force called lift which carries the airplane in the air, and the function of the body is to carry all the components. Okay. So, as like in the airplane, these paper airplanes also follows the same physics. For example, so if you see the wing, the shape of the wing is termed as a aerofoil, which is a special shape which we will be discussing in the session now. Okay. So, this special shape is similar for all the aircrafts. Okay. There may be small changes in the size and a slight change in the geometry, but the aerofoil is common for all the aircrafts. So, let us discuss what is the aerofoil, why it is called as a special shape, and how the airplane gains its lift while flying. I have mentioned a term called lift. So, you might have wondered what is it, and the lift is nothing but a force. Okay. So, wherever the force involves, there will be a motion, and it can be considered vice versa. Wherever there is a motion, there is a force behind it. So, let us start to understand how we create the force called lift. Before that, I will explain what is a force. Okay. So, force is nothing but to be in an elementary term, it is an amount of energy, okay, required to move an object. To be specific, force is defined as an energy that is required to move an object at a speed of 1 meter per second, considering the mass of the object does not exceed unit value, that is 1 kg. So, force is nothing but energy that is required to move an object 1 meter per second whose mass should be unit value, which is nothing but maybe we will consider SI unit 1 kg. Okay. So, this is termed as force. So, wherever the force is imbalance, okay, so there will be a motion. For example, if I apply a force of 1 Newton which has a direction of left to right, and there is an opposite force which is 2 Newton moving from right to left, my end result will be a force of 1 Newton that moves from right to left. Okay, so there will be a motion in this direction. So this is how the force acts. So I also already mentioned that lift is also an force. Lift. Okay, so lift is nothing but a force that acts in the direction opposite to the gravity. Okay, so this force is generated by spending some energy. Okay, so lift is a force generated against the weight. Okay, so that is where we are in the act of balancing. Okay, so always weight is a force that acts towards the center of the earth. Okay, so this is what keeping us in the surface of the earth. So to overcome weight, we generate force called lift. Okay, so there are many theories behind how a lift is generated. So we will be discussing about the term that is given by Bernoulli through his equation, a very simple explanation of creating lift by varying the pressure. The lift. So I have said already that we are generating the force lift, but you may consider, you may think that I defined force in terms of energy. So as per thermodynamics law, we cannot create energy, we can transfer from one form to another form. Okay, so the same thing is happening here. We are transforming the energy from one form to another. Okay, so that is how we are creating the force called lift. Actually, we are not generating the force exactly as I termed as lift, we are generating aerodynamic forces. Okay. So what is aerodynamic force? So this is nothing but the force generated when an object interacts with the air. So the interaction can be of two ways. The object may stand still and the air may flow over the object, or the air may stand still and the object moves through the air, or else both can happen simultaneously. So this will create a form of force over the body. Okay, the moving air exerts a force over the body, which we term it as a aerodynamic force. Okay, so this aerodynamic force is classified into two actually. One is lift, that I have already termed here. The second one is drag. Okay, so drag is a common force that we experience every day other than lift. So drag is nothing but the force that opposes a motion. Okay, so as I said already, whenever there is a force involved, there will be a motion. Else when there is a motion, there is the involvement of force will be there. Okay, so if I move from this point to this point, so I create a force. Okay, so I create a force, and what actually happens is I am moving the molecules which are surrounded here. Okay, because we are surrounded by air. So when I move from this point to this point, I have to displace the air that is already available at the location which I am standing. Okay, so when the air is here, it is standing still, and when I have to move it, I have to apply some force, that is I have to give some energy to the air molecule so that it can move away from the place which I am going to occupy. Okay. So, the energy is given by my body. Okay. So, the energy taken from my body initiates a momentum which moves the air molecules. Okay. So, this transformation of energy happens and there is a loss of energy to me, okay, because I am giving my energy to the air molecule. Okay. So, that form of loss is termed as drag. Okay. So, anything that opposes the motion, this drag will always be in the direction opposite to the motion of the body. Okay. Then the lift is nothing but the force which acts perpendicular to the drag. This drag and lift is always perpendicular to each other. Okay. So, whenever I am moving, not only the special shape that I mentioned aerofoil, even myself, whatever the object it is, it creates an aerodynamic force when it moves through the air. So, that is what you have to know about the force called drag. The next main thing is lift. Okay. So, the generation of force always involves is always a complex one. Okay. So, to generate a lift or generate aerodynamic force, I have to spend some energy. Okay. Either it is in the form of motion or it may be in form of some other energy. So, I have to spend it so that I can generate these aerodynamic forces. Okay. So, in aeronautics we use the special shape called aerofoil, which creates a pressure difference between its upper and lower surface, creating these aerodynamic forces. Not only aerofoil, even a small plate or even a paper can generate aerodynamic forces. Okay. So, consider a small plate which is kept at a small angle. Okay. When air flows, it come and rams here. So, there is a transfer of momentum from the air to the body. Okay. Also, the air that is hitting the plate takes a small change in its path. Okay. So, this change in path will absorb some energy from the body. So, this is how the energy moves between the object and the air. Okay. So, this creates a force which is perpendicular to the surface. Okay. Then, as I mentioned, drag is the force that always opposes the motion. Okay. So, if my air is in this direction, so consider air is moving in this direction. Okay. My body will be moving in the opposite direction. Okay. So, my drag force will be in this direction, opposing the motion of the body. Okay. Then, as I have mentioned earlier, the lift and drag will always act perpendicular because these are components of aerodynamic forces. Okay. So, the aerodynamic force generated is resolved into lift and drag. So, always these lift and drag will be acting perpendicular to each other. So, this will be my lift force. Okay. So, as I mentioned, lift is acting upwards, which balances the weight, which is nothing but the force generated due to Earth's gravity, which solely depend upon the mass of the object. Okay. So, till now we have learnt about weight, drag and lift. So, these are the major forces that acts on a flying object. Okay. So, apart from this we have another force called thrust, which overcomes the drag and pulls the flying object forward. Okay. So, the forces acting on a flying object are lift, drag, thrust, and weight.